The new AP Top 25 poll is out. We're going to see who's number one, who moved, who dropped. We're going to dive into that in just a second. Welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. I am glad that you are here. It wasn't a good weekend for our Tigers, but I will tell you this. I am extremely excited to see how the season moves on, who is being exposed as, pretenders. We saw some of that yesterday. Penn State, I said Penn State would lose. They lost, and so on. So anyway, I talk about other teams other than Clemson, though I'm surrounded by my Clemson paraphernalia. I hope you'll subscribe. It is free. I do appreciate it. So if you're a Clemson fan like me, I'm sorry. Yesterday you lost. You definitely dropped in the polls. So today, what I am going to do, I am going to give you the top 25 that was just dropped just a few moments ago. I'm going to give you the rankings. Then I'm going to give a little commentary on it. And then we're all going to shake hands and hug and go home. Okay, maybe not do that. That'd be weird. Okay, so number one team in the country. Who are they? Well, third week in a row, if my memory serves me correct, Oregon, the Oregon Ducks. They look like a machine, y'all. They look like a flipping machine. They're 9-0. Number two, Georgia. Number three, Ohio State. Number four, the Miami Hurricanes. 5, Texas. From 6 to 10, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana, BYU, and at number 10, Notre Dame. 11 to 15, Alabama, Boise State, SMU, LSU, and number 15, Texas A&M. From 16 to 20, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Army, Clemson, Washington State. And from 21 to 25, we have Colorado, Kansas State, Pitt, Vanderbilt, and number 25, Louisville. All right. So are there any surprises in there to you? Get in here real quick, say hello to a few people. Slim Shady Canes, big Hurricanes fans. Good to see you in here, man. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Jack, little Jack, it's good to see you, man. Man, I tell you this, it's seeing kids like you grow up and now you're no longer kids, it makes me feel really old. So I'm glad you're here, buddy. I hope your family's doing well. Michael, good to see you, pal. Michael, I'm glad you're in here. 25 of you in here right now. I hope you'll subscribe. It is free. Okay, let's talk about the top 25. Let's go to number one. And I'm going to spend a little more time on certain teams, and then I'll fly through others. Oregon at number one. Just going through their schedule. Extremely dominant. Now, we've seen Oregon be dominant before. But folks, I'm gonna make a bold statement. I have not seen Oregon be this dominant. Dare say, even with the Chip Kelly years, that he even got to the national championship. And I know that some people would be raising their eyebrows. Maybe you could say that team was. This Oregon team just looks different. They are looking way different. A lot of people, including myself, wondered how they would respond to a different style of football playing against the Big Ten's big-time teams. Well, they seem to be doing just fine. Different style of ball, they're doing just fine. Oregon, once again, proving that, they have good coaching, they have incredible talent, they have incredible funding, thanks to Phil Knight and Nike. It's really incredible what they're doing out there. They're not wasting it. I'll put it that way. Georgia, number 2. The Bulldogs, they struggle with Florida. If you look at this score and you go, they won by 14 points, but with about 4:05 left in the ball game, it was tied at 20. Florida lost their quarterback, DJ Lagway, who was giving Georgia fits. He gets hurt. They bring in a transfer student from Yale. Georgia wins. Not trying to take away from the Bulldogs. Carson Beck did not look like a Heisman Trophy contender. But they're number 2. They are a very good football team, and I believe more in their coaching than I even do their players. I'm just put that out there, and coaching matters. Number 3, Ohio State. I called this. I've been talking about this for a while. I was talking about it as soon as the preseason top 25 was revealed, I said that Penn State was overrated. And then when Penn State went to number 2, number 3, whatever it was, I think they were number 3. When they went to number 3, I said, folks, I'm telling you the most overrated team in the country right now is Penn State. And they're shoved down our throats year after year. I'm not saying they're a bad football team. I am saying, and I have publicly said this, that James Franklin is the Mark Richt of Penn State. And I've had people tell me, even my oldest yesterday, he told me, he said, Brad, I disagree with you. I think Penn State's actually much better, and they're going to be Ohio State. Ohio State was down 10-0. They threw a pick 6. I was driving down the road listening to it. And then what happened? Penn State lost. Ohio State went on a 20-3 run. That's all we have to say. Number 4, Miami. Miami played very close with Duke. Congratulations to Xavier Restrepo for setting the Miami record, I believe, for receiving yards yesterday. The guy can play football. If there is one player in this country who is overlooked big time in college football, it's Xavier Restrepo. I'm no Miami fan. I am not a Miami fan whatsoever. But I'm telling you, this Restrepo fella, he can play. He's a baller. Miami's defense has a lot to prove, and I'm going to leave that at that. They're number 4. Texas, they were off. They are number 5. Of course, Penn State dropped 3 spots to number 6. Tennessee had a problem with Kentucky. Kentucky has a bunch of people who are injured. I think Vandergriff ended up going out in that game. Tennessee is 7-1. We saw a shakeup because South Carolina, we'll get to that in just a second, South Carolina beat the trash out of Texas A&M. We're seeing a shakeup in the SEC. You're going to see more of a shakeup as the weeks go on, according to who plays one another. But Tennessee struggled with Kentucky. It's like their minds was it just wasn't in it. You know, it was just like Tennessee's mind was somewhere else. And I don't blame them to a point because you're playing Kentucky, and Kentucky is not very good. They're paying a lot of money to their coach to not be very good. But apparently these schools have a ton of money through their donors. They're totally fine with paying for, 7 and 8 win seasons. I got into the wrong profession, y'all. I should have been a coach. Not at your local high school. No offense to anyone who's a local high school coach. But I should have got into coaching so I could circle around the toilet bowl that is the coaching world in college ball. And at worst, I make $500,000 a year coaching special teams or something like that. Maybe I can find someone like Kentucky to pay me $8 or $9 million per year to win at best 8 games. But Tennessee ripped them apart. No, they didn't. Tennessee came in and farted around. My brother-in-law graduated University of Tennessee. I'm friends with the University of Tennessee fans. Where I live, I'm about 3 hours from Knoxville. Have no problem with the University of Tennessee. But I'm going to tell you, Rocky Top was not rocking yesterday. It was very underwhelming. Tennessee looked like they had their minds elsewhere. And trust me, I should know what that looks like because I pull for Clemson, and we saw what they did last night. Tennessee, they're going to have to get sharp. They're 7-1. They're going to have to sharpen up. They're going to have to sharpen up. They're going to have to get stronger. Indiana, 9-0, if my memory serves me correct, 9-0 for the very first time in program history. Now, have they played Ohio State? Not yet. They have not. But what I will tell you, is that Indiana is doing something that they never do, and that's beat bad teams. The toss-ups, they're winning. There's a reason Indiana's never been 9-0. They're number 8 in the country. BYU, they were off. I had a video, I had a guest on this past Monday. He's part of the Kansas State media group. He's been on television. He's been a sports announcer. It was great. Had John Kurtz on past Monday. Had a ton of views on that. Had a ton of BYU fans show up. How many times did I say ton there? Twice? Ton there twice. That's weird. BYU is one of those teams, and Indiana as well. They haven't really played anybody unbelievable, but they keep moving up. And you know what? Good for them. Good for them. It's just you wonder what would happen and what will happen when they play really good football teams, and it may just be in the college football playoff. Number 10, Notre Dame. Notre Dame, they were off yesterday. They dropped 2 spots. Look who's at number 11. Up 3 spots. Didn't even play yesterday. Look who's there. Want to take a wild one? Alabama. Just when some of you are like, oh man, they're done. They're not done. They're not done. They lose a third ball game, they're probably done. But I know if's a big word, but after Texas A&M and LSU, they have 2 losses. Ole Miss has 2 losses. Tennessee might get a second loss. I'm telling you, get a bunch of 3-loss SEC teams, you're going to see a 3-loss SEC team in there, and you're going to wet your drawers. You're going to be so angry, so mad, it's going to drive you nuts. Number 12, Boise State. Boise State. They beat San Diego State the other night, 56-24. They're up 3 spots. SMU. SMU took out Pittsburgh, 48-25. They moved up 7 spots. They're now number 13. And as of last night, with Clemson's loss and Pittsburgh's loss, if the ACC championship were played tomorrow, it would be SMU and Miami. Number 14, LSU. They were off. They moved up 2 spots. See how that works? Texas A&M. They came off that incredible win against LSU. They were undefeated in the SEC. 1 loss at the very beginning of the season. They went to South Carolina last night. And you know my oldest is a South Carolina fan. Did a lot of things right with him. That was not one of them. What's so funny, we were sitting there together watching multicast on YouTube. So he was watching South Carolina. I was watching Clemson. We were looking at both games, and it was just a tale of 2 teams. I mean, it was just, I never thought I would say that, but South Carolina beats Texas A&M 44-20. They lost by 24 points. A&M was just outmanned. It's going to be a tough game for us Clemson fans. Ole Miss went in, played Arkansas. Jackson Dart had over 500 yards passing. They are up 3 spots. They beat Arkansas 63-31. They're number 16. You see all these 2-loss teams? Look at that. Look at that. You may not want to. 16, 15, and 14 are what? 2-loss SEC teams. Number 11, 2-loss SEC teams. What happened to Notre Dame? They didn't play. They dropped in the polls. Who moved up? Alabama. Who moved up? LSU. Who moved up? Ole Miss. I'm telling you, folks, some of you think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy, and I'm not brilliant. I just pay attention. And I also know who has a lot of money invested in the SEC conference and how many networks they own. And I'm grinning with this annoying grin because just like I told all of my Clemson faithful, I was highly concerned that Clemson hadn't moved on from August the 31st. And I was told I was a bad fan. I ended up being right, unfortunately. And I'm telling you the same thing here. You're going to pee blood when you see multiple 2-loss SEC teams get into the college football playoff, and even possibly, according to who loses and how many of them lose 3 ball games, a 3-loss SEC team. Y'all are going to be so flipping mad. It's fair. Yeah, I bet. I'm with you. Got a bunch of you in here. I'm going to fly through this real quick. Say hello to some people real quick. Slew Point, 2-point conversion. Hi, everyone. Good to see you, my friend. You see that symbol beside Slew 2-point conversion podcast right there? That means he supports the channel, $3 per month. Thank you so much, my friend, for supporting the channel. I am glad you're here. Hampt Redmond supporter. What's up, Brian? What's up to you, Hamp? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for supporting the channel, being here. I'm going to slide through here. Let me see. No, Joe, I was responding to Brian. What were you responding to? Very close. We won by 22, sir. Yeah, it was a pretty close game for most of the game, and then Duke was Duke, and y'all took advantage of it, and you should have taken advantage of it. But I watched almost the entire Duke-Miami game. It was a very close game for a very, very, very long time. And then Duke was Duke, and Miami did capitalize on it. If Miami, and I know if, there goes if, but just like I said to Clemson fans, and y'all know me, folks, you know me, I tell the truth to my Clemson brethren, and they hate me for it. Not all of them. More of them's coming around. I had a lot of apologies this morning, by the way. I had a lot of people sending me messages on my reaction video to Clemson crapping out last night, getting the trash beat out of them. I had a bunch of them reaching out to me going, hey, I haven't agreed with you, but I hate to tell you were right. Yeah, I know. Miami, you play a good football team that has a good offense, good defense, and a good coach, and as you get through the upper echelons, what happened yesterday, you won't get away with. You won't be able to get away with that. But you did win by 22, my friend. I know Nico threw the ball on point 3 times. They were dropped touchdowns. Yeah, they got to clean that up. Something was up. I was talking about Clemson. Clemson's still on the field, still trying to score this morning. They sure were. That was very, very slow. Let me see. Clemson possibly headed for 2 more losses should the team continue to play like they did last night. Yep, I agree with you. Let me see. I appreciate you giving Restrepo some love, Brian. He's the definition of hard work. Yeah, Kevin. Restrepo can play football. He's my type of player. I don't know what he's like in, everyday life. I don't know. For all I know, he's a terrible person. For all I know, he's, a missionary who gives the shirt off his back to people. I don't know. But as far as we're talking about football, the guy's a baller, and I'd love to have him playing for Clemson. We wouldn't get the ball to him, by the way, but I'd love to have him standing on the sidelines for Clemson. Sorry, I'm a little ticked off right now. The SEC is just chaotic because we let in so many who thought they were awesome, but everyone is getting lessons that in the SEC we either own our mid-tier could hang with other elite teams. I'm telling you, don't be shocked, Cajun Vol, if there somehow a 3-loss SEC team ends up in the college football playoff. All right, let's get back to these polls. So, number 16, Ole Miss. Number 17, Iowa State. They lost. They lost to Texas Tech. Went ahead and got that out of the way. And I told you I didn't buy them. A lot of people got upset that I talked about, well, not too many people, because nobody really cares about Iowa State. But they lost. So there's one out of the fold. Number 18, Army. They're 8-0. They beat Air Force 20-3. It's a good story. These guys, they busted their butt. Most of them are not going to have an NFL career. They have to balance so much in the Army. They're 8-0. Jeff Monken changed up that offense last year. It's working out for them. Number 19, a team very, very, very dear to my heart. Clemson Tigers, they lost to Louisville. They dropped 8 spots. Yeah, they were a 10-point favorite. A 10-point favorite over Louisville. This is the first team they've had to play since playing Georgia that gave them any real pushback, and Clemson lost by 12 points. Good job. Good job. Washington State did not play. They moved up 2 spots. They're 7-1 in the Pac-2. Colorado did not play. They moved up 2 spots to number 21. Kansas State lost to Houston. That's right. Lost to Houston. They dropped 5 spots to number 22. Pittsburgh, I told you that Pittsburgh was not that good. I told you. And when they beat Syracuse so bad, you realize that they intercepted the ball 5 times, and 3 of those interceptions were returned for touchdowns. I've never heard of 3 pick sixes in my life in Major D1 football. And I said Pittsburgh's defense is not going to do that against good football teams. They play a good football team. They're not going to throw they're not going to throw 5 interceptions. What does that mean? You better have your scheme together. You better have your talent together. You better be able to coach. You better be able to play. You better be able to adjust. They played SMU. We find out They don't know how to do any of those things. They lost by 23 points. Vanderbilt they did play. They did play. They beat Auburn at Auburn 17-7, 6-3. A lot of Tennessee fans are concerned about them. Louisville came into Clemson. They had lost 3 football games, all by 7 points apiece. Miami, Notre Dame, and who was that other school they lost to? I'm not looking at their schedule. They're 6-3 right now. They beat Clemson. They exposed Clemson. That Clemson has not moved past. Clemson's not that much better than what they were when they lost to Georgia by 31 points. And I told Clemson fans I was afraid that was the case, but people selectively choose to be naive because it makes them feel good. Tell me that I'm getting better. I'm sorry, you're not. Let's I'm going to put up this comment. This is going to freak some of you out. I even forgot about this. Big John setting. I'm going to show this to you, folks, and I'd even forgot about this. There's 192 of you in here. I hope you subscribe. It's free. It helps out a small channel like mine. I do appreciate it. Big John Setting, first of all, thank you for supporting the channel. That symbol beside Big John's name, that means he supports the channel. Thank you for supporting the channel. I really do not want to know this. I think that was a typo. 19 is about where you place them preseason. You are a mystic. I said Clemson preseason, rated at number 14, was overrated. That they had proven nothing and that Clemson really needed to step up. And my motto with my Tigers and with a lot of teams who were unproven, it's the same motto as the great state of Missouri. The show me state. Just show me you're better. Just show me. I don't care if you go out there and beat Butthole State by 500 points and you have 10,000 yards in a game, my friend. I don't care if you do that. I'm glad you're beating a bad team bad. If you have as much talent as Clemson has on their team, preseason 24/7 sports show the composite. That's where they grade teams by talent, how many 5 and 4 stars they have on the team. Clemson's the 5th rated team overall with 4 and 5 star talent. I know you hear so much about the transfer portal, you think Clemson has a bunch of lunatics playing for them. Bunch of kids that's, out of the rec leagues. That's a lie. That's a lie. But I said that Clemson hadn't done anything. Clemson needed to prove it. And it would have been good for them to start off with beating Georgia. Or at least playing really close to them where Georgia comes out of that game going, what the crap just happened? But Clemson didn't do that. But I told everybody, I said, listen, I just think Clemson's not doing well. I don't think Clemson's getting any better. They're still allowing so many points. And I had so many people come back to me, but they're playing second, third, fourth, 12th string. Their AD, he actually got in a few snaps. And I said, I don't care, guys. Some of the miscommunication that we are seeing, the stuff that we're seeing, I'm just letting you know that there's problems still. That's negative. What happened last night? I'm just sitting here. I'm going to wait for a second. Now, I'm not going to set my sundial and wait for you to respond. What happened last night, Clemson fans? I told you, Clemson, I was afraid they were not getting any better, and I was afraid that if they went in and played a team that would actually push back on them, that they would go back in their shell. What did Clemson's offense do last night? Went back in its shell. Well, they had 400-something yards, folks. I care less about yardage. I care about points on the board. Clemson proven once again, you can put up yardage and still not put up points. Clemson is at this place to where they just reminisce about 16, 18. I mean, 16, 18, 6 consecutive playoffs. Clemson's more focused on excuses right now than winning. But yes, I did place him at 19. Go through some more comments. I'll get back here. Defensive coordinator let us down last night. I think the entire coaching staff let us down. almost all the coaching staff, not all of them, but a lot of them did last night. From the head coach, to the DC, the offensive coordinator, they all let us down. The offensive scheme last night was the same scheme that Georgia beat TCU 65-7 in the national championship. That's the same scheme we saw last night. I'm not talking about same plays, same mindset. That's what I'm trying to get across to you. Louisville is a pretty good team, but I still consider this a big upset. It is. Zone, you really don't. They're talking trash about South Carolina. Miami is terrible when we beat them. Shrug. I don't think Miami is terrible. I just think Miami is overrated. You haven't played anyone. Clemson, you're like Clemson. Clemson hasn't played anyone, and every time they play someone that's actually really good, they lose. Or they're good, or they'll give them pushback. Name me one team that gave Miami pushback. That's good. Louisville almost did it. California's not good. They're terrible. Got out of that game with the skin of your teeth. Virginia Tech, according to who you talk to, they believe they beat you. Oh, he's out of bounds. Great. If this Miami team plays Oregon, they're losing. This Miami team plays Georgia, they're losing. This Miami team plays Ohio State, they're losing. Miami's a lot better than what they normally are, but their defense is, it's just ridiculous. But I don't think y'all are terrible. So, we have the college football playoff. The show, the poll will be announced on Tuesday night. There's another little something going on Tuesday, but we're definitely not going to talk about that right here. But, Clemson has dropped. There's other teams that are dropping. We'll continue to see who drops. You're also going to see the SEC bias. Oh, these guys are beating up on one another. Oh, it's so tough. They're going to beat up. I'm just telling you, folks. Get ready for it. Because you have a bunch of SEC teams with 2 losses, and you just see them slowly climbing back up the pole. Just going on up there, kind of like the itsy-bitsy spider. And there will be no water that washes them out, my friend. Because that's the investment. That is the investment. So, anyway, well, folks, you said we were terrible last video. Well, I misspoke, but y'all are not near as good as everybody thinks. You're not the number 4 team in the country. I can promise you that. I know mediocre. I watched my team play last night. And y'all got a really good quarterback. You have Restrepo. You have Damian Martinez. But these teams that are really good, they'll contain them. They'll get some good plays, but when it's time for y'all to play against a good defense and y'all's defense to play against a really good offense, that's where you'll get exposed. But my friend, I'm not talking trash to you. I'm just talking facts. I spit facts to Clemson. I spit facts to Miami, and unfortunately, that's just the truth. It's just the truth. But here's a good thing. You have an easy schedule. You have an easy schedule, so you'll probably win the ACC championship, go to the college football playoff, probably play a piss-poor team in the first round. You'll move through it. Everybody will be fired up. And mark my word, just like I told everybody about Clemson, I've said this about other football teams, said about Penn State. I was right there. Then all of a sudden, Miami will play a really good football team, and guess what happens? They won't be able to do to whoever it is that's top tier that they did to Duke. So I'm a Clemson fan, and I have to live reality, and I'm not going to spare any other team. Yeah, Miami's better than Clemson. Yeah, that's fine. There we go. All right, folks. Well, y'all take care of yourself. Hope you will subscribe. It is free. Always enjoy talking some trash. Won't see you there. That's fine. Hey, listen. Hope Miami doesn't get TCU'd, my friend. Y'all get blown out by 30 points by some really good football team that has it together on both sides of the ball. That won't be good. But hey, to each their own. Hope you'll subscribe, folks. It is free. Drop a line in here, say hello. Y'all take care of yourself. And I'm going to do a video here in just a second just talking about the post-Clemson loss, more thoughts on the Louisville game, and what it really exposes about the team and the direction, the lack thereof. Y'all take care of yourself, and as always, go Tigers.